Please join me in welcoming the Governor of our great state of Indiana, Mitch Daniels.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. My homie crowd from Indiana, someone politely seated right down front, and all my friends from ALEC. I'm really happy to be here, and I can make that more than a pleasantry. When you would know it's more than a pleasantry if you knew how rarely I come to Washington, generally only at gunpoint. Come to think of it, I may be about to have my visa revoked anyway after January 20th, so maybe the last time for a while. That'd be just fine with me, and it'd be fitting that it was this crowd. I do want to tell you sincerely, I don't do much of this, but my regard for this organization goes back a long way. I remember attending these meetings. Part of my assignment, my portfolio for President Reagan was all the intergovernmental work, and so it was a happy part of that assignment to attend ALEC meetings, and if I remember correctly, I probably had the privilege of this podium once or twice before. I was asked here, I'd love on some other occasion to talk to you about telecom and transportation and healthcare and other areas in which, with the help of like-minded legislators like the folks at this front table, we've broken a lot of new ground in our state. Today's assignment, as I understand it, is to talk about fiscal policy, and I'll be confining myself generally to that. You should know that where I come from, we're not much in the habit of dispensing advice to other people. We make no pretense to having all the answers, and we're a lot smarter than to extrapolate from the experience of our state necessarily to the affairs of any other. But let me just very quickly show you a little bit of factual information. I do this honestly, not to toot the Indiana horn, but just to credential ourselves before I offer you a few suggestions or thoughts that might or might not have any application in your situation. So very, very quickly, this is where we came from and where we are today. As David said, 8 years of red ink. We had a structural deficit of $800 million on a base of about $12 billion, so 6 or 7 or 8% when we arrived, and we got that reversed in our first fiscal year, in our first biennial budget. We've been running surpluses since with some positive consequences. People always ask me, well, how'd you do this? This was so brilliant. This will really impress you. This is one you may want to write down. Okay, we spent less money than we took in. I know you're dazzled at such an insight. These are 4-year averages. The first year's spending increase was 1.8 or 9%. We did not have remarkable revenue growth in this time. I looked with envy on many other states where revenue at least was reported to grow, 6 or 7 or 8% in the early part of this decade. We didn't have that, but you don't have to have that if you can rally great people like Cindy Noe and Jim Buck and these other folks down here, Bill and David, and really put first things first. And it helped. And this is a lesson we may all get to apply this year. It helped that we were in a very serious situation. It's interesting to me to watch other states who are now in deep kimchi who were flush when we looked like we did on that previous slide. But those are the moments, and this is one of my thoughts for you today. These are the moments sometimes when you can get the most important work done. So we had some state debt. Our predecessors had been playing this game well known in Washington, where you pretend to be in balance by pushing hundreds of millions of dollars of spending around the corner into the next fiscal year. You know that trick? I'm not recommending it to you. reporting. So this is money that was owed to schools and local governments, so they went and borrowed and waited 6 months till it came from the state. And so we cleaned all that up. And now we have rainy day reserves again, which I will return to this subject at the end. We're right now around 10% of a year's budget in reserve. And that's probably going to come in handy from what we can see, but it also has bearing on a little suggestion that I'm going to lay before our legislature next month. I love these maps, not because I love the difficulties of, what's that phrase, Schadenfreude, or however the Germans say it, the delight in the distress of others. No, it's not like that, but the simple fact is that we, at least for the moment, Indiana is in relatively strong shape. And this is important because I'm here to testify that our fellow citizens still care about this. They care a lot about fiscal prudence. And people in Indiana have a sense now that maybe things aren't perfect where we are, but that we've been looking after the people's business with some special care. David mentioned we earned a AAA credit rating, first time in state history after 2 upgrades. And so I'm a big fan of maps these days because they tend to show Indiana looking relatively well. This is tax climate. This is leadership in attracting jobs and investment. There's about 7 or 8 of these ratings of where the best places are to do business. This is from an organization called ALEC, so I thought it might have some, whoever they are, I thought might have some special credibility here. And this is another one, the most recent of these. In general, Indiana is now seen as the best place to do business outside the Sun Belt. And we always considered this our most important assignment, to build a climate of hope and opportunity, to recognize government never created a job, occasionally can drive them away if it performs badly, at its best can create the conditions whereby free men and women create jobs and wealth for each other. And that's what we're out to do, and we think we've made some headway. Let me just leave that right there for a moment and offer a few thoughts on behalf of a state which has tried to take this fundamental assignment of taking care of the public's money very, very seriously. I went to Philadelphia Tuesday with 40-odd colleagues for, I thought, a very gracious session and a sincerely motivated one, President-elect. And there were some good ideas offered up about stimulating the national economy, navigating through this very difficult period. There were some atrocious ideas offered up by people who can remain nameless, but I said not a word. I didn't think it was my place, and at that time anyway, but I was struck really by the very serious distress in which many of our sister states find themselves, but also by thoughts of optimism. I mean, Reagan trained us to look for the pony, and I always do.